Morning, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Hope everyone is suitably excited by the weekend's action. Obviously, I'm out on my morning dog walk this morning and thought I'd do a quick video, to pass the time about Bradford City. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I was excited that we drew Bradford. There's obviously some clear reasons. I mean, it's the relationship between ourselves and Bradford City is particularly poignant, I think. Look, I tell you what, before we go talk about Bradford, I mean, Chris Keneally is morning TV star. Thank you very much. Kate is in Vienna. I hope I'm well. Thank you very much. Just a word really, I think, on the TV thing, because I did the match day live. Really enjoyed it. It was a great experience. Really looking forward to doing it again. But I'm also conscious that I seem to kind of be on quite a lot different bits of media. I mean, a lot of it is obviously of my own doing. Morning, Chris. A lot of it's kind of like dog walks and in the bar and the podcast, which are either mine or mine and Ben's doing. And I did see a comment on one of the forums, which I don't usually go on, and it wasn't particularly nasty. It said I was always watchable and listenable, but is there anything that I'm not on? So I am conscious of overexposure, which is why I didn't do an in the bar over the weekend, talking about League One and the other teams and that sort of thing, just because I think there is only so much I should probably be doing. Maybe I let it get to me too much, I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed the TV stint, so to speak. So yeah, it was really good, and thank you everybody who sent some really kind messages, not just to me obviously, because I was only a very small part of it, but certainly to Sam and Terry and Charlie and Tom behind the scenes as well, who did a great job. Couple of mornings. So Pete, I can't see what that is. Oh, it's a wave. Very good. I'm only on my phone, my eyesight's bad. Dave Johnson, all the way over in the good old US of A. Morning, Dave. I've been writing articles about the US today. Startups in California. How thrilling is that? Derek Carlisle. Morning, Gary. Morning, Derek. My dog doesn't want to come on the walk. There's a surprise. Brilliant. And Chris obviously enjoyed the match day live. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for the kind words. I'm not going to, I'm not one for excessive self backslapping. So we'll move on. I want to talk about Bradford. And it kind of a little bit different this morning. I'm not going to talk about Bradford's team and their formation and that sort of thing. I might do a video on that tomorrow. I might do an article on that tomorrow. That's not really something that I want to discuss. What I want to discuss is certainly Bradford and the relationship that we have. And that's what I touched on at the top of the show for those who weren't already with us. Obviously, due to the tragic events of May 1985, the two clubs will always have this link. We'll always have this kind of mutual respect born out of tragedy. Every time we play each other, we're reminded of the fans that went to a game and didn't come home. We pay our respects to them. We always remember them. Every May, every time the two teams meet, every time you meet a Bradford fan. So the histories of the two clubs from there on in were linked. I'm sure before 1985. Bradford were very much like a Doncaster or a Rotherham or something like that you could kind of identify with them, and they were rivals, but there'll always be that special link. Now, on a personal level, that's not very good, is it, the sun? On a personal level, that the events of 85 were probably the first clear memory I have of Lincoln City and of football. I'll touch on that in my book. But something else I touch upon in my book and kind of where I would like to take this video is my relationship with the City Gent, a guy called Lenny Berry, who was the Bradford mascot. Now, I don't talk much about my mascot days anymore. I kind of wrote the book about it, and I always feel if I start telling the stories, I've either covered them in the book, or somebody who's read the books listening to the story will either think, why didn't you include it in the book? Or this can't be one of the good stories because I haven't read about it. So I don't talk a lot about being poacher, and I kind of feel that personally I've moved away a little bit from that. But Len he's still a good friend. I was away when the draw for the second round of the Carabao Cup was made, and the first person to message me was Len, basically saying, "Pity we can't get in the ground, pal. Be good to catch up with you. We touch base every so often." And I think, there was a tight relationship between a group of mascots anyway. So there was myself, those who've read the book know, there was Len, the City Gent. There was Gaz, who was Blady, Captain Blade. There was Alex, who was the York City mascot. There was Halifax Dave, and there was a few others as well. My first event as mascot was Battle of the Mascots in 2001, where I went to Shrewsbury. And again, if you've read the book, you know the story. And my first meeting of Len was when, I would say, a 19, 20 stone man. The first I really interacted with Len was as he dropped on me from about 4 foot in the middle of the game and winded me, and I thought I was going to die. And we'd had a drink the night before, and we'd not got to know each other as such. We were two people in a throng of many. And then a couple of months later, there was a Huntingdon Grand National, which I missed. Unfortunately, I went to Sheffield with the suit in my car with the intention of driving on to Huntingdon the next day. Went out in Sheffield, got absolutely mullered. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, while we were still drinking, it was clear I wouldn't be going to Huntingdon. I got a phone call from Len, and that was my first real kind of acceptance into the mascot group. When Len called me, and there was Cyril the Swan there, who was a guy called Eddie, I think. And from there on, I kind of became friends with Lenny, City Gent. And I think the relationship between the two clubs helped. We did quite a bit for the Bradford's Birds unit. I mean, obviously, he did something every single year. I went round the ground with walking in a Ginger Wonderland t-shirt on in, I think, about 2008, because Stuart McCall was their manager. Obviously, somebody again linked kind of with the 85, with the Bradford fire tragedy. And I got a great reception. I think it's the only away ground I've been to, whereas I've walked around the ground, I've got applause rather than accusations of kind of being a paedophile or whatever they say at football mascots, which, they do. It's always check his hard drive as you're walking around the ground, or it certainly used to be. So that was really nice. And I think, I went to Valley Parade a couple of times. Len invited me for an England game after we'd done some charity work. I went up there for another league game where we just kind of went out on the pitch and did a little bit of a thing. And look, during the 90 minutes, that relationship it's there. But you don't put it to one side, but you still want to win the game. This isn't a kind of two friends playing on FIFA, and if one wins, you go, brilliant, I'm pleased you won, kind of thing. It's still competitive. Of course it is. And I remember losing to a last-minute Barry Conlon goal, which was particularly galling. But afterwards, it's always went into the bar, checked to the Bradford people, and it's always really good, really good. For me, this is the saddest fixture to miss. And I know, I've managed to go 7-8 minutes without talking about the potential reward from beating Bradford, because it almost does a disservice to the game. And I'm not trying to be one of these cool fans that kind of, this is more important than what everybody's talking about, because, let's be honest, if we get through and we get Liverpool, it's not a spectacle for the fans because we can't be there. But it's massive for the club. It might get picked for TV. Arguably, it might be better if it didn't get picked for TV, because what sort of potential viewing figures have you got on that? Even if Liverpool subscribe to the iFollow, if their fans were to pick it up and watch it. And I don't know if it can be. I haven't looked into the Carabao Cup particularly, but let's face it, if it wasn't picked for TV and Liverpool get 20,000 and only 2 could come in, arguably 10,000 times the 18 over. It's a hefty bit of money, even with taking out the iFollow slice. So there's a massive reward at the end of it. But it's almost like 2 dream ties in one. I really think that going to Bradford should be a massive occasion. I think, Oxford on Saturday had this narrative around it, which I spoke about before, with the 6-0 and then Michael Appleton. And that was a very personal narrative, I think, for the manager and for the players that started in that 6-0. With them also having almost gone up last season, there was quite a bit around that game that for supporters was at the back of the mind, and almost certainly for the likes of Michael and the players, although they put it at the back of their mind, it was a massively important game. I think this game, perhaps, I dare not say less so, because all games, I'm sure, for footballers and managers are equal. But it's the Carabao Cup. There's not league points at stake. Okay, Liverpool potentially from a commercial point of view is very good, but from an emotional point of view and from that kind of narrative point of view, this is the one for the fans. This is the one for people who know people affected by the Bradford Fire. I mean, it's not just Len. There's obviously Paul Town, the stadium artist. I've got some work from who does a lot of great work around the tragedy and kind of raising money for the Burns unit. So this is the one with the fans narrative. If we were to get through, the Liverpool game is arguably for the wider narrative. That's then, where all of a sudden I'll be getting calls from, places like the Anfield Wrap, or, some people will be contacted by national media, because all of a sudden it's then the national story. But this is very much our personal story. And I really just wanted to do the video because I didn't want people to, I hesitate to say, lose sight of that, because I don't think fans will. But I think we all have a personal connection with Bradford through what happened. For me, I feel that there's, I was a fan after Bradford Fire the season after. I didn't see a game. The first game was the year after that, so I almost had 2 years between the disaster and going to my first game. But it made me aware of Lincoln City, and it made me aware of what it meant to people. And then I think with the whole with Len, and with doing the work with Len and all that sort of stuff, I think it really brought it to the fore for me. And it does feel very, I personally always look out for Bradford's results. If they're not playing us, I always want to win. If they're locked in a promotion battle with us, I kind of always want them just to be one step behind us. The saying goes that you wouldn't mind being 10 quid behind Lewis Hamilton in bank account stakes. Well, I don't mind Bradford being, 1 point behind us in the league stakes. I'd rather, if we were in the same league and we finished top, it was them that were second. And that doesn't make me a two-team whatever. That's just kind of that mutual respect. And that has been built more through the relationship with Len. I thought what I'd quite like to do as well is tell a couple of stories, I think, about Mascot times. I don't know if that's of interest. I'll soon see if the viewing figures drop down. If you've read my book, these might be a little bit, one or two might be familiar, but they were just hilarious, and it's easier to talk about them, I think, sometimes than write about them. So we did a Huntingdon event in, I'm thinking about which girl I took with me. So it must have been September 2007 for a guess, something like that. It was late 2007, kind of autumn, winter 2007 time. And so we arranged to meet all the mascots. We were all staying. There's a Premier Inn or a Holiday Inn or something really close to Brampton Racecourse, like just off the dual carriageway or motorway or whatever it is next to the racecourse. So we all stayed there. The idea was that we were going to go into this big old pub in Huntingdon, really nice place, have a few drinks, come back to the hotel where there was like a harvester or something. It was next to the hotel. So we thought we'd go back there, have a late taste, and then, probably carrying on in our rooms and that sort of thing. So we went into Huntingdon, and they were expecting us. We kind of pre-booked that we were going to go there because, if a coach load or 20, I think it was a minibus load, so maybe 20 mascots or 20 blokes all turn up at an establishment, you sometimes get turned away, and we didn't want that. So we turned up there. I was still one of the younger guys. I mean, I was knocking, around my 30th birthday, but we had Len there, we had Gaz there, we had the guy from Northampton. I can't think who he was, what his name was, but he was a long-serving mascot as well. So we've had our drinks there. Minibus has come, it's picked us up. We've gone back to the race course, we've gone back to the track, and we've gone to get in this. The language here, I apologise for, but I didn't put this in my book. So we've gone to go into this harvester, and as we've gone in, guys met us on the door. Bear in mind, we're staying on the hotel on the side. It's like, you can't come in here, lads. To be fair, we'd all had a few. It's like, why can't I come in there? You can't come in here, there's too many of you. So, well, can we come in like one by one, get a couple of drinks each, and sit outside and have them? No, you can't. And at this point, it's Gaz who's doing the talking from Sheffield, so he's got his broad Sheffield accent. I'm not going to mock him. And he's basically, he starts getting a bit agitated. We'd all had a few beers, and this guy makes the mistake of, I mean, he's proper, although he's Huntingdon, he's proper, oh, I need some other brand type thing. So it's proper Southern, and Gaz is proper Northern. And the guy on the bar basically says, look, you Northern hound, back off, basically. So, of course, one of the worst things you can do to a Northerner who's drunk is call him a Northern. So we all came out this pub, and we decided, or Gaz, me, a couple of others decided we were going to wait for this fella to come out. Bear in mind, it's about 10:30. So we'd all got some tins and that in the hotel room. So we brought these tins out of the hotel room, and we surrounded this pub. So we were sat, first of all, just kind of outside, and then one or two went and sat in the beer garden at the side, and then there was a little bit of a track at the back, and people went to sit in the track at the back. Just 1 minute, my The cows are out, so I need to put my dog on the lead. Hold on, Charlie. Be back with you in a minute, people. Oh, you can only see my dog's ass. So anyway, we're right the way around this pub, and night starts knocking on. I mean, we've got a lot of cans, to be fair. So it gets to 11:30, and all the people have left the pub, and we've been perfectly nice to everyone that's left the pub. And it gets to kind of midnight, and the lights begin to go out. And we think, well, this guy isn't staying, and he must have been the manager because the staff are all leaving, and they're laughing as they're walking past and leaving. So I think it's this big joke. We weren't going to beat the guy up, not thugs. Charlie, come on. We were just going to have a bit of a joke with him. I'm sure Gaz would have had words to say, but anyway, it got to 12:30, 1:45, and the Mascots started drifting away then because we've got a race in the morning, and some of them, the ones that we probably knew were wankers, took it seriously. Do you know what I mean? They wanted to win, so they were going to get to bed early. The ones that didn't give a toss, and we used to call them the big-footed brigade because we were the ones that wore the big foam feet. We didn't bother about that. So we're still waiting. Charlie, come on. So we're still waiting. Anyway, it gets to 1, 1:15, 1:30. The beers are running down a little bit. You know, and this place has been darkness for ages. It's like, well, he must be staying over. He must be staying over. And then all of a sudden, out the corner of, not my eye, because my eyesight's shit, but out the corner of one of our eyes, we notice a bit of movement by the chimney pot. And this is like, it's not a 2-story building, but it's one of those that looks, you know, it doesn't look like a bungalow. It's got quite a big apex roof on it. And the poor lad's only climbed out onto the chimney, and he's clinging to the chimney pot, waiting for us to leave. And he's gone all the way around the pub, and he can't get down the pub anywhere. So one of us shouts up, Charlie, come on. That's not what we say. One of us shouts up and says, what's going on, fella? And he's like, I just want to go home. I'm sorry for calling you a northern. And that was pretty much that. And it was just this sight of this poor fella. And we kind of realised at that point, no matter how much you've drunk or no matter what you've done, do you know what I mean? We were terrifying this poor lad. And I think it was Len who first basically said, come on, let's go to bed. Because, you know, Len was all for a crack and a laugh, but he had a big old heart on him as well. So, and there was one other event, which I'll just quickly tell you about. We used to do, Charlie, come on. We used to do something at Collingham every year. And it was my home event, so to speak. So the Mascots would have some of them would have a home event, and you would always support your Mascot friends event. So, you know, I always go along to the matches and support Lenny's efforts to raise money for the Burns unit. Gaz always used to do an open day at Bramall Lane, which we went to a couple of times. And this was my home event. So Collingham would play the Emmerdale All-Stars every year. And one of the Collingham guys got in touch and basically said, you know, would you come along with a couple of Mascots and do a run or something? And I think the first year it coincided with the Olympics. Was there Olympics in 2004, possibly? I think it was. So we did Mascot Olympics, and it was great crack. And the next year we did a kind of a five-a-side game. I think it went on to 2006. And I think 2006, there was only a handful of us. There was me, there was Len, there was Gaz, Sheffield United, there was Dave from Halifax. Dave's missus as Mrs. Halifax, I think it was Mrs. Freddie Fox. And we played this game. And obviously it was all the Emmerdale stars. Gaz turned up with Shane Nicholson, who was playing for Boston at the time. So I think it was 2006. Really, really good day. And there was an announcer. There was a tannoy announcement. So, you know, the match is starting now. The cakes are available. The tombola is open. And all that sort of thing. And it was kind of stashed away in an office upstairs. And if you've been to Collingham, you kind of go upstairs to their clubhouse at the top, and it's a big changing room. So halfway through the game, Emmerdale are playing Collingham. Really, really kind of, you know, fun family day. All these families about everything. We've been out. We've done our bit. We've got change. Benny the Buck was there from Telford because he had his head nicked. And he used to have to go around as Benny the Box afterwards. He put a box on his head. We think we know who nicked it as well. Right on. But anyway, so we've got changed. We've come back, kind of gone into the bar, and the room with the tannoy on it hasn't got a lock on it. So Len and Gaz decide this is going to be a great opportunity. So they kind of walk over and they're kind of sidled in. And it's just every so often they'll just do a cheer or something like that on the tannoy. And you know, people thought it was funny. But the bolder they got, the kind of the more extravagant the abuse got. And in the end, they were basically doing things. Bear in mind, it's Emmerdale. They were doing the Coronation Street theme tune. And it was going out across the whole ground. And they were doing things, they were commentating, but deliberately getting the actors' names mixed up. So they were deliberately saying, you know, Kevin Webster on the ball. Maybe you had to be there, I don't know. But then afterwards, all the Emmerdale people came up, and there was the guy that played Scott. I'm going back some now. There was Kelvin. I can't think what his name was or who he played, but he went out with Sammy Winwood. Edna Birch, the woman that played Edna, turned up, and they were absolutely brilliant. It was really sad because the next year we weren't allowed to go because the Emmerdale guys wouldn't come because somebody at the event had basically written a story for the Sport or the Mirror saying that the Emmerdale guys had run a mock and they weren't giving autographs and they were rude and they got pissed up. Glenn Lamont was doing it. I can't remember who he played, but he was the main guy. And so the Collingham thing stopped. It was a real shame because the Emmerdale guys were really good. They were good crack. But it was just kind of typical Len, typical guys, really good people. Loads of time for the Bradford City guys. So, look, this has been really indulgent. So thank you for the 30 odd people that have managed to stick with it. I appreciate it. The Mascot stories might not actually be all that funny, but they are to me. And I think that's the thing about Bradford. It's personal, isn't it? It's personal to an awful lot of us. This is a game where, sure, the result matters. It'd be a great game to win and go on and get Liverpool and get the money that I follow or the television or whatever bring to that, and get a look at their under 23s rather than their under 21s. But for me, it is about Bradford. That's not me trying to be cool. It's not me trying to be, I'm an edgy fan because I think Bradford's more important. Any other team, I'd probably be just holding back on talking about it at all because I wouldn't want to be going on about Liverpool and doing an injustice to the other team. But at the same time, if it was Morecambe, I wouldn't really give a flying F. But it's Bradford. So look, tomorrow night, massive game. I shall certainly be watching on iFollow. Make sure you do. I don't think there's a match day live. I think we're only doing that before the EFL games. And yeah, kind of enjoy the game. This evening, I've got a real treat. Get to go up to the training ground, outside only. Of course, an interview. Michael Appleton, socially distanced. He's going to be talking to me about some of the new players. Trying to kind of put, I think, a bit of character and a bit of meat behind them so that, we can continue to build those relationships. And while the likes of Adam Jackson scoring goals and while the likes of Lewis Brunsman's doing what he's doing, we're building kind of affinity for these players. But I think it's tough when you can't get to the ground, you can't see them going in, you can't shake their hand. And so Michael just rang me and said, can you come down and we'll do a bit of work around that? Contacted me, and I haven't been in contact with him really over the lockdown because, sometimes I think it's that I don't want to be that guy, Michael looking at his phone, some bloggers ringing up going, who are we going to sign? It's not really for me, that, I don't think. So, there we go. Just Cliff Reed there. City Gent was a great bloke, retired by the club, I think. He used to take sweets to kids. He used to have this medical bag he used to take, he did. And he had loads of sweets in it and all sorts. But we went to do Ant and Deck show, Slap Bang. And we picked him up on the way. I went over to Shrewsbury. And then I think they might even have come to Shrewsbury. We might all have met there, and we got the bus down to London. And when we got into the TV studios, it was no beer. And all of a sudden, he opens his bag and he's got a six-pack. And it was not a literal six-pack. He had a lure pack, not a six-pack at the time. And it was phenomenal. He was suddenly the most popular guy in the place. And that was the time that Angus, who went on to be the mayor of Hartlepool, told us that he had signed a code of conduct because he had basically gone to, I think it was Hartlepool Blackpool in the playoffs in 2001, May. You'd have to double check that if you're on Soccer Base. And he had basically gone there and he had been arrested, I think, or had been accosted because he took a blow-up doll with a Hartlepool kit into the ground or a Blackpool kit into the ground and took penalties against it and all sorts. So it was another good day. But yeah, and I think Len was retired. He suffered a bout of ill health, lost a lot of his size. And then, Bradford saw him just as a bloke in a kit throwing sweets and a bowler hat throwing sweets at kids. And it was a bit short-sighted because it wasn't about the visual at that point. He was a part of the furniture, and he still is at Bradford. And maybe I might even get him on a podcast at some point and get him to tell the stories in a much funnier and more authentic way than I can. I think I might stick to writing. So final one from Elliot Taylor. If we go through to meet Liverpool on TV, it'd be good if we had a display in the Co-op to tribute the 56 and 96. Yeah, I think so. We'd have to see. It's about what we can do, isn't it? It's about access. It's about who can go to games, who can get in beforehand. It's a tough time at the minute. And we'd be looking forward to tonight with real optimism and excitement, or tomorrow night rather, with real optimism and excitement, which at the minute, maybe we are. I hope this has helped a little bit, but let's not underestimate this. 2 wins, 1 draw, arguably a win. Could some people classing it as 3 wins into the season? We're in a good place. But never forget where we've come from either, and never forget the ties that we have with Bradford City. Look, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. I understand a lot of you are at work. Don't want to oversaturate the market with my bearded face. So whether I do a video or a preview written, see what time I get. Look forward to presenting some Michael Appleton content over the next 24, 48 hours, depending on what I get. It might be a series through the week. We shall see. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's beautiful. I can't believe we're still in summer. I thought summer ended in September, but it's summer till the 21st of September. So enjoy yourselves. Because remember, winter's coming. See you later. Bye.